An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth should be the motto for the current death penalty system in place today. However, George W. Bush clarified the seemingly vengeful quote by saying, "I don't think you should support the death penalty to seek revenge. I think the reason to support the death penalty is because it saves other people's lives." Started in the 14th century BC, the death penalty has been around to protect citizens, exterminate criminals, and set an example for future criminals and murderers. Wouldn't you want to walk down the street safely? Wouldn't you want your children, your friends, to walk down to the store, to walk to the park confidently and safely? The death penalty is shown to deter crime, violent crime more specifically, and to abolish all of the crazy murderers who wander around the streets seeking their next prey. For this reason, the death penalty should not be abolished. Today, we're going to go over the benefits of the death penalty, followed by the reason to keep the death penalty, and then we're going to go over common arguments of the opposing side and thesis and why they are not necessarily accurate. First, let's go over the benefits of the death penalty. First and foremost, it's more cost-effective. Robert B. Evnen says the loudest complaints about the death penalty delays come from the death penalty opponents who have created them. They don't take into account the increase in cost of life without parole cases if there was no death penalty. The existence of the death penalty as a possible sentence leads to guilty pleas that save the money spent on trials and limit the opportunity for appeals. Ultimately, the death penalty is in fact cheaper than keeping the criminals in prison for life without parole. This cuts down on taxes for citizens, this cuts down on payment and spending for prisons. Secondly, the death penalty deters violent crime and future criminals. David Mulhausen, PhD, said, "A recent investigations using a variety of samples and statistical methods consistently demonstrate a strong link between executions and reduced murder rates. In short, capital punishment does in fact save lives. By executing dangerous criminals, 5, 10, 20, 50 people, innocent lives could be saved. And this is another reason why the death penalty is a good thing." After examining the benefits, let's go over the reasons to keep the death penalty. First and foremost, it creates a safer society and accountability for criminals. Edward Fesser says, "In the supreme gravity, the death penalty promotes belief in and respect for the majesty of the moral order and for the system of human law that both derives from and supports the moral order. The death penalty gives people a reason to keep the moral order of human law and society, which in turn creates a safer society and community for everyone." Secondly, another reason to keep the death penalty is because of retribution, and because the punishment has to fit the crime. Robert Blecker explains that we have the responsibility to punish those who deserve it, but only to the degree in which they deserve it. Let the punishment fit the crime. Basically, he's saying that the death penalty only applies to individuals who deserve death. Commonly, people who have taken a life and in turn have to give their life now. The punishment fits this crime. This can stand for a moral issue as well. If an individual takes a life, why should he have the right to keep his, especially in a society that wants to keep the law in order? Finally, let's discuss and dispute some of the common arguments that people argue when they say that they want to abolish the death penalty. One of their main arguments is the Constitution. They say that the Eighth Amendment explains that there should be no cruel and unusual punishment. Although this is true, the Eighth Amendment only stood against additional terror and pain on top of capital punishment. It said nothing about capital punishment originally, just additional terror and pain. Anton Scalia explains that the Fifth Amendment provides that no person shall be held to answer for a capital crime unless it is on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, and that no person shall be deprived of life without due process of law. This shows that with a judge and a jury, an individual can constitutionally be sentenced to death with a reason and with people in a court trial saying that he deserves to be put to death. Finally, so today we went over the went over the benefits of keeping the death penalty, the reasons to keep the death penalty, and we disputed common arguments against the opposing thesis. For all these reasons, the death penalty should not be abolished. To protect your life, your friend's life, your children's life, your family's life, the death penalty serves to keep the moral order of law and to protect innocent lives that could be lost to murderers. Thank you very much.